Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another end of the week Sabbath class. I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
And we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And each and every week, as always, it's an honor and privilege to come before you to give you another uplifting and edifying lesson with hopes and regards and teaching you something that you didn't know last week or yesterday, so that you can apply it to your lives and to help teach and uplift your nation of people. But nonetheless, before we get started, we want to give all honor, glory, praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah being his son, who the world calls Christ in the Paleo Hebrew. And through his strength, sacrifice, and example, we are all able to be here today to be uplifted and edified in the spirit. So we appreciate you brothers and sisters tuning in as always. And as we say week in and week out, hey, remember to pray for your brothers and sisters. Pray for your nation of people. Because you don't know how impactful your prayers are for your brothers and sisters. Majority of us from time to time, especially before coming into this truth, we only prayed for ourselves and for our immediate family. But knowing who we are as a nation of people, we got to pray for our nation. Pray that our brothers and sisters get this understanding, that they wake up from this deep sleep that the Most High put us on, that they wake up and abandon the ways of this world and turn back to the Lord and start serving him with a pure heart, and a pure mind. But nonetheless, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Share this content. And tonight's class is going to be a class that's actually needed for our brothers and sisters, because a lot of the information we're going to bring out tonight is something that a lot of us don't know nothing about. And it goes into childbirth. And the name of today's class is called Before Birth, Need to Knows. What you don't know will hurt you. Contrary to what you have heard in the world, they say what you don't know won't hurt you, but what you don't know will hurt you. And that's what they want us to, that's what they don't want us to know. That's why they try so hard to hide our history as a people and the things that they do to us on a constant. So this is why we got to break down the strongholds that plague our people, bring out the truth, and bring our brothers and sisters back to the forefront as to knowing who they are, what they're supposed to be doing, and knowing that we have enemies, and our enemies are constantly working against us to destroy us. So in order to overcome that, we got to bring out this truth. And that's what we aim to do tonight. All right. So with that being said, we're going to start off with the book of Sirach, chapter 1, verse 14. Or Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 1, verse 14. And remember, while you're watching these classes, remember to take notes. Follow along. Don't be caught up in your phones and your text messages, trying to be on social media. Hey, buckle down and donate time to the Lord so that you can understand some things that's going on that you will need in the future. All right. Go ahead and read that, King.
All right. Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, verse 14. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb.
So to fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. For those who don't know, it's not a degree. It's not A's and B's. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. And it was created with the faithful in the womb. In the womb. Understand that. We're going to dive into that a little bit deeper later on. But I just want to start that out because we're talking about childbirth. The things that we need to know as a people before even taking that road to even begin to try to birth children, and how wicked this world is. You know what I'm saying? That's why the class is fitting, or why it's called Before Birth, Need to Knows. All right. From there, let's go to Sirach, chapter 5, verse 15. The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 5, verse 15. And part of that wisdom is keeping these commandments and knowing what the Lord is speaking about. Read.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small.
So the Lord says, do not be ignorant, meaning lacking knowledge, lacking education of anything in a great matter or small. You know, you don't have to know how to build a rocket ship, but you should know how it operates. You know, you don't have to know how a car is built in order to know how to drive it. You should know the basic functions. So what the Lord is saying, don't be ignorant of anything, whether it's a small thing or a great thing. You know,
Right.
we as a nation of people should have an understanding in all things. So by us going over this class, this is what we hope to do, give understanding to our brothers and sisters. All right, from there, let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 11. One way that we will get an understanding in all things is by doing what the Lord says. All right, let's go to Acts chapter 17, verse 11. And it reads, these were noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so. So as they did in Thessalonica or in the book of Acts, our brothers and sisters searched the scriptures daily to see what was written in there, to find the paths of our fathers, the days of old, to find out what we were supposed to be doing. And in order for us to understand truly who we are and how our people handle business back in the day, we got to read and search the scriptures. Because in today's time, we just follow what the trend is. We don't ask any questions. We just do what we have been seeing or what has been passed down to us. But we don't go back to the standard, which is the word of the Most High God. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. We don't go to his standard. We just go to what we see on TV or what we've heard from our parents or from our family members, or even just word of mouth throughout the streets. But we got to search the scriptures. So we going into childbirth, we're going to get a few facts out, bring out some history, bring out some shocking things to our brothers and sisters that we need to know before going down that path of giving birth, bringing or building a family. Information that I wish I would have understood years ago, you know.
Right.
But this is what we're going to get into, all right? So from there, let's go to the book of Jeremiah right quick. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 1.
Right.
And this is the first thing that we must understand by the scriptures. Jeremiah chapter 1, we're going to start at verse 5.
All right. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations.
Now, the Lord is speaking through Jeremiah, but he's speaking to us as well as a nation of people. Before we were even formed in the womb, we as a people need to understand that the Lord knew us and sanctified us, ordained us. A lot of people think that, hey, I slipped up and that's how you got here. Nah, everything is controlled by the Lord. You know, that's what we need to understand. Before we were even formed in the womb, the Lord knew us. Our spirits are actually residing with him right now. I mean, before we come into the womb, our spirits are dwelling with him. Think about that. All spirits come from the Most High, you know. And even when we die, our bodies go back to which it came, and the spirit go back to which it came. So our bodies go back to the earth, to the ground, and the spirit go back to the Most High, you know. And that's written in the scriptures. But that's a different topic for another day. But I just wanted to bring this out. Before we were formed in the belly, the Lord knew us, and he ordained us. Read on. We're going to read down to verse 10.
All right. Verse 6. Then said I, Lord God, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child.
Read.
Verse 7. But the Lord said unto me, say not, I am a child, For thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I command thee, thou shalt speak.
So we actually supposed to be speaking the words of the Most High God. You can read that in the book of Peter when it says, speak the oracles of God. That's how we supposed to be speaking when speaking one to another. That's how we should be known, speaking the oracle, speaking his word.
Right.
Not speaking the words of this world, trying to fit in. No, we need to stand out and be separate, be holy as he created us to be, speaking his word. But read on.
Verse 8. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, said the Lord.
And this is how we should be. Should be our mentality as a nation of people, not afraid to speak the words of the Most High, because we are sent here to deliver our people. Read.
Verse 9. Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said unto me, Behold, I have put my words in thy mouth.
He has put his words in our mouth. That's why we're supposed to be speaking the oracles of God. But read.
Verse 10. See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant.
You see that? He has set us over the nations, over the kingdoms, to root out and pull down and destroy the wickedness that plague our people. That go against the word of the Most High God. That's our job as prophets, ordained to do this. And this was all ordained before we were even formed in the womb. So our brothers and sisters need to know what our purpose is here on this earth. It's not to go out and just chase money, chase women, chase likes and comments. No, that's not what life is about at all. He set us above everybody, above all nations, to be him on earth as a people, All right. So when it comes down to birth, you got several different methods. You got the delivery and the things that come after that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to dive into now. All right. We're going to go into the delivery part of birth that our people truly don't know about, because we have been caught up with the things that we see on TV and just going with the norm. All right. So bear with me. Let me put it on the screen. That's not what I meant to do. Okay. Skipped over that. Now, let's go to the book of Exodus chapter 1, verse 15 right quick. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15. I'm going to show you something, because what we see on TV, we see our women, or we see women in general laid up in a hospital, laid in a bed, laid back. Let me see. I thought I had a picture a minute ago, but laid back on a bed with their legs open, holding the husband hand, screaming and hollering, giving birth. All right. But when you actually do research or you actually read the scriptures, you find out that that wasn't the way it used to be in ancient times.
The book of Exodus, chapter 1, verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which name of the name was Shapira, and the name of the other Pur. Verse
All
16.
right. So a midwife is somebody, a female that will help a woman who was going through pregnancy to help deliver the child. That's what a midwife is. All right. So we're talking about two sisters right now. Read.
All right. Verse 16. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to a Hebrew woman, and see them upon the stools, if it be if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Now, the key thing we want to take out of this is when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, not laid back in the bed, but on the stool. What are they talking about? You see these things right here? These are some of the things that they were talking about. Birthing stools. You see that? Check out how it's shaped. Damn near like a toilet seat.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Now, a woman would actually sit on this stool to give birth, and the child would fall down to the ground, you know, versus how it is done in the hospitals today. But when you actually look at that, it's a better way of giving birth. It gives the woman a better center of gravity, so to speak. I know that's not a word that they used back then, but gives her an upright position, kind of like using the bathroom, but everything is faced in the proper position versus being laid on your back and having to have your legs kicked up in the air, straining your back. You know what I'm saying? Said a birthing chair. The birthing chair can be traced to Egypt in the year 1450 BC. All right, pictured on the wall, the birth house of Luxor, Egypt, in the Egyptian queen living birth on a stool. So they do have images where they have the birthing stool on the side of the pyramids. All right. So back in ancient times, the women sat on birthing stool, and this is that picture they were talking about right here. Giving birth on a birthing stool, making it a lot easier to deliver the child. You know, and I want to play this quick video because this is something that our people don't know about, and it's actually something that plagues our people in the long run, because they end up having to have all type of procedures done and shots done in order to deliver the child.
Mm.
All right. Let me find it. Where is it?
And by you giving birth in that position, man, it makes sense that it should be easier by the way she's the way gravity works. The baby would already be coming. She would be sitting where the baby is easier to come downward instead of laying on her back trying to make it come out. It should be easier if she's sitting that way.
Right. So I'm gonna show this quick video where the sister gonna actually go in there, birthing in the modern day, and some of the complications that actually follow behind it, that our people have no idea about what's going on. Some things that may shock you. All right.
I realized the other day that I was 0.5 seconds from having a C-section. So I was talking to a friend of mine who just had a baby. Her son is about 2 weeks younger than my daughter. And picture this, y'all. She went into labor. She had a longer labor than I did, but she went into labor and she was laboring and progressing slowly but surely. She got to 7 centimeters dilated, and there was a little lip left on her cervix that was in the way. So your cervix is supposed to dilate wide enough to 10 centimeters and the baby's gonna shoot right out. But she was 7 centimeters and had a little lip that was in the way. She wasn't progressing, so labor was stalling for a little bit, was stalling for a while actually. And so they were like, you need to go to the hospital. So what she was trying to do is have a home birth. So she was at home trying to have a baby. They said she needed to go to the hospital because labor was stalling. Okay, cool. She goes to the hospital and she's still laboring, going through all the different motions, etc. And they were like, you know what? Those are your options. You need an emergency C-section, or we could try to turn the baby inside of you as you're contracting to see if that works. But most likely, you need an emergency C-section.
All right. What we want to understand right there, in today's society, at least in the last 15 to 20 years, there has been a major increase in cesarean sections or procedures or C-sections among women, period, but more so the Israelite woman, you know. And our people don't pay attention or don't know about these things because we don't ask any questions. We don't seek any counsel beforehand. We just go in and go through the process. Man, don't ask any questions. But as she was stating, she was trying to have the woman was trying to have a baby at home. She had a midwife, which I would encourage brothers and sisters to make sure that they had a midwife and to also ask diligent questions to find out what this person knows about who's actually trying to deliver the baby. You know, you need to ask a million questions if need be. But rather than just jumping and going to the hospital, you need to do a due diligence. You know, before you even decide to have a child, get pregnant. You need to be thinking ahead of time, on down the road. But this woman was going to have a child, and the midwife told her, hey, you need to go to the doctor. Why? Because that woman didn't know exactly what she needed to do in every situation when delivering the child. But let's continue on.
Because she was in labor for so long, she was exhausted, and those options were given to her. She was like, you know what, I don't know about turning this baby, but let's try it for a sec. So at her next contraction, she tried to push, and it was just like too painful. It wasn't happening. So she was like, you know what, just get this baby out of me. She had a C-section.
And that's how it normally goes. The doctors will actually wait until the woman is past the point of exhaustion where she really can't even think. She just ready to get it over with. Then the doctor will rush in there saying, hey, we need to do an emergency C-section right quick, to get this baby out safely, And, the mother or the father at the time or whoever's in that emergency room or that labor room, not knowing what's actually going on and hearing the doctor come in there in a panic mode, they're going to agree to it, but not knowing that this is part of a procedure that these doctors and hospitals actually run for a scam. But we'll listen on to what she got to say.
That is her story. Now, with my labor, I don't know if you watched my birth story, but it was the same exact story. I was laboring. I wanted to have a home birth as well, but because the baby was starting small, the plan was to go to the hospital. Okay, so I went to the hospital. I was laboring nicely. I got to 7 centimeters, and I had a lip of my cervix as well that was in the way. Now, my midwife said, Jen, you're going to push. And as you push, I am going to, I guess, massage or move the little lip out of the way. So I had a contraction. She put her finger in there. She moved the cervix out of the way. Baby came down slightly, and that was the end of it. I just kept going and had my vaginal delivery naturally.
That's why you need a midwife that knows what she's doing at whatever stage during the pregnancy or the conceiving process. You need to have a midwife that knows exactly what she's doing.
Same exact situation, y'all, but ended in 2 different outcomes. She had an emergency C-section because we were like, we don't know what to do about this. And my midwife was like, oh, just simple fix. Let me fix you up with this little cervix lip. Which led me to this video, and I'm going to let you watch it.
Hospitals.
Pay attention to this. This is critical. This is something that our people have no knowledge about, and it's going on a day-to-day basis.
Our businesses, they want those beds filled and emptied. They don't want women hanging around in the labor room.
Technology is technology. It's not stopping. So if you're going to have good stuff, you might as well use it to get the best outcome.
Maternity care in the United States is in crisis.
People don't have the information. Medical decisions are being made for monetary and legal reasons, not because they're good for the mother and the baby.
This is Pitocin, which is the medication given through the IV that causes contractions. Just check that she's on PIT. Just make sure that she's on PIT. And I asked to keep upping the PIT. And if you're uncomfortable, we can always give you more.
Is this an improvement, or are we making things worse?
How often do you get to see a fully natural birth?
You hear what she asking him? How often do you get to see a natural birth?
Rarely.
Rarely. How many women go to the hospital on a day-to-day basis giving birth? here are 3 doctors or nurses, and they say that they rarely get to see a natural born child.
Almost never.
Everywhere else in the world, you see midwives attending 70 or 80% of all the births, and the United States stands alone.
You want to talk big lobby, big dollars, they can kind of call a lot of shots. Accusations tonight that some hospitals are not being upfront with patients who are expecting a baby.
Cesarean is extremely doctor friendly. It's 20 minutes, and I'll be home for dinner.
Basically, what the medical profession has done is convince the vast majority of women that they don't know how to birth. If I could do that, I could do anything. To me, that's the power of birthing, and that is what we are taking away from women.
It wasn't an illness. It wasn't something that needed to be numbed. It needed to be experienced.
It was the most adventurous day I've ever had in my life.
I don't even have like a diaper. I don't even have that.
I have to get there. I cannot have another contraction this taxi cab.
Switch on a light switch, and you go to the moon.
This is what I was after. This is what I wanted for my child.
Nothing compares to the privilege of giving life and the responsibility of that. Nothing.
Oh my god! 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 Hi! Hi! Oh my god! Hi!
The business of being born. What is that video going into? Showing you how America, United Snakes of America, has developed a scheme or a scam in order to trick women, mainly our women, into having unnatural births. It's a big business. And we're going to go into that in a minute. But I'm going to let the sister keep talking for a second.
Sure, tomorrow.
All right, so this is a whole movie that apparently you can at like a local library or something. But I find it very interesting that so many women are being given or offered Pitocin or oxytocin, as we call it here in Canada. And so many of the outcomes is C-sections. And, you know, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist or nothing, but it's so interesting, especially when the doctor was like, you know, C-sections are very convenient for the doctors. You quickly get it out of the way and you go home for dinner. And I'm noticing a trend. Every single one of my friends that have had a child recently, last year, all ended in a C-section.
It ain't no coincidence right there. Every one of her friends within the last year or two that had a C-section when giving birth. We're going to pull some stats out in a minute, but I'm just let her keep talking.
What are the odds? What are the odds, you guys? And I don't know, it really feels odd to me that when it comes to the system, it's almost like a business. It really is. I feel like a hospital do push C-sections on women.
It is a business, and that's what we're going to get into a little bit, just to show you that. So brothers and sisters, be aware of these things. Especially you new parents or future parents, hey, be aware of these things. Do your research. Don't just continue to go down the path and follow what somebody told you. Do your research, diligent research, you know?
Hey, brother.
Go ahead, King.
Yeah, I just want to bring something out right fast. Now, I found out that, like, you know, a lot of time when these doctors tell you to have a C-section, after your third C-section, they refer you to get your tubes tied after the third C-section, and that's another way of slowing down our birth rate. If your tubes tied, you no longer have children. And also, I found out that when a woman have a C-section, it costs more for a C-section than it does for a natural birth. Meaning the doctor that's delivering or that does the C-section, he or she would get paid more for a C-section than they would for a natural birth, and that's another reason they do that.
Exactly. Everything boils down to money when it comes down to Esau. They don't care what level of wickedness they go through to get it. They're going to go through it. All right. So this is an article called, let me see. It's from Northwestern EDU. All right. So this is an article written saying, why are black women more likely to have C-sections than white women? All right. Let me see. I'll read this right quick. Let me see. It says in the United States, black women are 3 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause than white women, highlighting the stark health disparities between black and white mothers. Even wealthy black women like Serena Williams and Beyonce aren't immune from these risks. In 2018, they both told Vogue magazine that they delivered by emergency cesarean section, C-section, after experiencing pregnancy complications. You see that?
Mm.
Even the top women of our people, of our women, are having C-section. They supposed to have the best doctors, but somehow they've been tricked as well to having a C-section. All right. These kinds of stories point to a trend. Black women are more likely than white women to deliver their babies by C-section. And let's see, in a recent working paper, IPR, economists Molly Schnell, Adriana Corridor Walden of North Carolina State University, and Janet Curry of Princeton University investigate the factors causing the racial difference in C-section using a database of birth records from New Jersey from 2008 to 2017. They show that doctors, not mothers, are the reason behind the disparities. Black women were over 20% more likely to undergo a C-section, even when they preferred a vaginal birth, meaning a natural birth, and had the same medical risk and were treated by the same doctor in the same hospital as white women. You see that right there? Same doctor, same hospital, but due to their race, our women had to go through these C-sections, 20% more than the other. All right. Let me see. Let me go down. Now, as the brother was stating earlier, it's a money thing. You know what I'm saying? And when you have these C-sections, it's called an unnatural birth. And because it's an unnatural birth, like the woman said, it's a surgery that takes like 20 minutes. The doctors get paid more behind it. All right. So rather than just getting the same measly amount of money for a natural birth, they're going to try to enhance their payday. All right. And I'm going to show you, this is another article off of MSN. It said facts and figures on giving birth in the United States. It says Stella Apple Osei and her husband told The Guardian that when they had premature triplets, their hospital charged them $877,000. Even though their insurance covered most of that, they were still left with a bill of $51,000. So that's damn near $1 million to bring in triplets. All right. It's nearly impossible to put a price tag on giving birth in America since costs vary dramatically by state and hospital. All right. But one 2013 study by the advocacy group Childbirth Connection found that on average, hospitals charge $32,000, a little bit over $32,000 for an uncomplicated vaginal birth, meaning $32,000 just for a natural birth, and $51,000 for a standard C-section in newborn care. You see that? The damn price damn near double for a C-section, $20,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an article that we did not write. All we had to do was do a little diligence, a little research, and we'll find the answers. See that? Insurance typically covers a large chunk of those costs, but families are still often on the hook for thousands of dollars. Insurance providers usually cover a significant amount of the cost, but always, and many families are left with hefty bills and potential bankruptcy. See that? So these hospitals do not care. These doctors do not care. They in it for the payday. In it for the payday. You know, as we will find out about a lot of different things throughout life when dealing with these doctors. This is why they never truly give you anything to heal whatever it is that's plaguing you. They'll give you something that will suppress it or make you feel good for the moment, but will actually have you coming back over and over and over again. Ultimately doing what? Making them rich. You know.
Can I bring our script right fast, brother?
Go ahead, King.
It's Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 10. And it reads, never trust thy enemies, for like an iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Letting us know once again that we can never trust these people. You know, they're gonna tell you anything to in this situation as far as with the C-section, tell you need a C-section, like you said, in order to enhance their payday. You know, and it's wise to always get a sometimes they tell you before you go into delivery that you're gonna have to have a C-section. So it's
Right.
wise to always get a second opinion.
A second and a third. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Majority of them are in cahoots together, you know. But as we were stating, that's a good point you bring out too, King. Never trust thine enemies. All right, because this system is built by our enemies, not to help us, but to keep us dumbed down and to keep destroying us as a people and keep raping us at the same time through our pockets, I mean. But this is another article, March of Dimes, and it's going into the stats that we were talking about earlier. All right. Total cesarean or C-section deliveries by race, ethnicity in the United States from 2020 to 2022 average. All right, percent of live births. See that? So you can look at this chart and it got at the bottom the different race or ethnicity. And then at the top, it got the percentage out of those women. So look at how close they all are. Even though the so-called black woman is high above all of them, they all are in the 30 percentile range, letting you know that they are consistent with the method that they're using to make more money. They try to keep it somewhat close so that nobody can actually pinpoint it or point it out. But if everybody is damn near 30%, that lets you know that they're consistent with it. That they doing that with every race and having these C-sections at a high rate, which they should not be doing. And as the sister said in that video, they come with right before the child is born saying it's an emergency in order to get the mother's permission or the family's permission when she's to the point of exhaustion, where she don't even want to think, she just want to get it over with, you know. And majority of our people don't do any research, so they'll just say, yeah, doc, whatever you got to do, let's make it happen. You know, and the doctor just sitting there lying so he can get more money or she getting more money, you know. But this is something that we as a people have to be aware of.
Hey,
go ahead, King.
And another thing, it ain't always got to be Esau delivering the baby. It'll be our own people.
Right.
They down with it too, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
All right. So, you know, we went into some different delivery methods. Well, one of the one that plague our people, you know, I wanted to bring this out. I had forgotten, skipped over it. When we were talking about the birthing stools. I'm gonna go back right quick. Go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. Because he actually explains what I was talking about earlier, how when birthed through the stools, how the child would actually land on the floor, so to speak, All right, let's read Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse through 6. Now,
All
this
right.
is Solomon speaking. Pay attention to what he's saying now.
Chapter 1, you said?
Chapter 7, 1 through 6.
Okay. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 1. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth.
So
And
he's talking about he's a mortal man made of the offspring of Adam. Read.
and in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of a man, and the pleasure that came with sleep.
So he's telling you he was fashioned in the womb just like everybody else, in blood, in the womb, from the seed of a man. Keep that in mind as well. Read.
And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature. And the first voice which I uttered was crying as all others do.
You see that? And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth. He fell upon the earth. Why? Through that birthing stool. You see that? Fell upon the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Just as it says in the scriptures that we brought out of Exodus chapter 1. All right. But read on.
I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that with cares. Verse 5. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth.
Read that one more time, King.
For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth.
But they said that Christ, he wasn't born by the seed of man. But he's saying Christ is also known as King of Kings. But Solomon said, for there is no king that had any other beginning of birth. Also letting you know that Christ came through the seed and the lineage of Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
When they come with that immaculate conception theory or myth, saying that it was the overshadowing of the angel or the Most High getting married pregnant, that's foolishness. That's a lie. King Solomon, who knew all things, said there is no other way for a king, for there is no king that have had any other beginning of birth. Read.
Verse 6. For all men have one entrance into life, and the light going out.
You see that? All men have one entrance into life. They got to come through the womb of the woman.
Right.
See that? And the light going out. Every man gonna be born, they're gonna die. You know? So we needed to understand that as well. All right, so we talked about the C-section part. These are the things that our people need to be aware of. All right, now one of the things that our people take for granted or overlook is the topic of circumcision with the child. That's just something else that actually takes place in the hospital and is out of order as well. Got to be aware of this as well. As repentant Israelites, we have to know our history and know what we're supposed to be doing. So circumcision is for the male, for the son. All right, what is circumcision? Circumcision is a surgery to remove the skin covering the end of the penis. This skin is called the foreskin. In the hospital, this surgery is most often done 1 or 2 days after a baby boy's birth. Circumcision can also be done on older boys. This can be more complex. An older boy may need medicine, general anesthesia to put him to sleep during the procedure. All right. So it's telling you what circumcision is, but it's also a covenant that was made by the Most High through Abraham, our forefather. Let's go to Genesis chapter 17 right quick. Show you where they get circumcision from in the beginning, in the first place. Why do they do it? Is it just something random, or where do they get it? Go to Genesis chapter 17. We're going to start at verse 7.
The book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee.
So this is Yahweh by Shem Yahushua speaking to Abraham. Read.
And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
Talking about the nation of Israel. Read.
And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generation.
So it's a covenant between Abraham and his seed, meaning we are part of his seed. It's going to need to be kept. Read.
This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised.
Every man shall be circumcised, not the ones that we choose. Every man child born of the nation of Israel shall be circumcised. There's no options. Read.
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Read.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man child in your generation that is born in the house or bought with money or of a stranger, which is not thy seed.
Read.
He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
You see that? So in verse 12, it says, and he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised. That's what the Lord told Abraham. A child, a man child, a son that is born must be circumcised 8 days after being born. Not 1 or 2, like we read earlier, like the hospital do. 1 or 2 days after the baby's birth. No. Now, one of the things that they showed in that video that the sister was talking about, was that giving birth in America was a big business, a $1 billion industry. And when we watched the little clip put together by the old talk show host Ricky Lake, it showed how they wanted to get the mothers or get the families in and out of those hospital rooms or those delivery rooms. They didn't want them in there for weeks and days parlaying. They wanted to get them in there for 2, maybe 3 days and ship them on out of there so they can put another family in there and get paid more. All right? So we got to be aware of that. Now, why is it performed and what are some of the risks of performing or not performing the circumcision? I'm going to read this right quick. It said up to 65% of newborn boys are circumcised in the United States. Many parents choose circumcision for religious, social, or cultural reasons. If other men in their family have been circumcised, parents may opt for circumcision so their sons look the same. Crazy. However, there are also valid medical reasons for the circumcision procedure, which include the risk following irritation, inflammation, penile cancer, phimosis, STDs, UTIs. All of these different things come when you don't circumcise your child. All right. But this was a covenant that was made with Abraham and his seed after him. All right. So one of the things that a lot of our people don't understand and realize is that when circumcising that child on the first and second day after being born, the doctors have to shoot that child up with a vitamin K. All right. This is an article from Newborn Circumcision Center. All right. Says a vitamin K shot shortly after birth in newborns has become a commonplace to prevent a serious condition known as vitamin K deficiency, bleeding, or VKDB. So this is a vitamin shot that they give to the baby to help him to clot his blood to be able to clot. to stop the circumcision from just continuously bleeding. All right. Though rare, BKDB can be devastating, causing significant and life-threatening bleeding. See that? When the bleeding occurs in the brain, the child's life may be at risk, and the possibility of long-term health problems and neurological deficits increases dramatically. So when these hospitals circumcise the baby after day 1 or 2, they end up shooting vitamin K into the child to allow his blood to be able to clot to stop the bleeding. That's not natural. And of course, they probably gonna get some more money off of that. But let's watch this little video clip that Amalek actually put together, showing you that they know what the hell is going on, but they choose to do what they want to do for the love of money. All right. Now, when you watch this video, realize who made it. But they saying Israelites, but the real Israelites are the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. These are Jewish folks putting this together. Go ahead.
Did you know that God commanded the Israelites to circumcise the babies on their 8th day?
See that? They know on the 8th day, that's when the child's supposed to be circumcised.
It is written in Genesis chapter 17, verse 12, "And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man-child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed." Thousands of years later, medical professionals discovered that the blood-clotting elements, vitamin K and prothrombin, are on an adequate level on the 8th day of life. Make it a habit to read and learn more about the Holy Scriptures. A reminder from UNTV, your public service channel.
Did you catch that? I'm going to go back right quick. Go back just a little bit more.
Medical professionals discovered that the blood-clotting elements, vitamin K and prothrombin, are on an adequate level on the 8th day of life.
Did you see that? They know, they have figured out that the Most High is a genius, basically. We already knew that. But through their scientific research, they found that on the 8th day, the child is already able to produce the vitamin K and the necessary minerals needed within his blood, within his system, to be able to stop the bleeding. When we follow the commandments, we are protected. You see that? So they realize that by doing research, just like we should be doing, that on the 8th day, the child is able to stop the bleeding. But when we go to the hospitals and we just follow procedure, we end up getting our baby snipped before time and then shot up with a vitamin that they don't need, which could possibly damage their neurological sense, cause all type of functions or deficiencies throughout the body. This is why we have to do these classes, to enlighten our brothers and sisters, so that as they get older or they prepare to have more children or have their first child, they'll know better. And with this information, you'll be able to teach and uplift and help others be protected from the evil of these wicked individuals that we serve. All right, let's go to the book of Micah right quick, chapter 2, verse 1. Let's go to the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. You got it. Go ahead, King.
All right. You said Micah 2, verse 1?
Yes, sir.
Book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hands.
The Lord said destruction to them that devise iniquity. You know, the same way they was coming up with them scams to have our women have C-sections, or to shoot our children up with these different vitamins, so they say, vaccines, so they say. Hey, the Lord said destruction to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand to do so. We don't own any labs. We ain't coming up with this. We go to their schools, we get their education, we get their degrees and follow their system, but we don't own any of this. We don't set the standard. The Lord said destruction is coming to them. That's what the word woe means. Destruction to them that devise, come up with these strategies, these plans, who devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Think about it. That's what's coming to them for this wickedness. All right.
Hey, and also, if you want to know, if you're an Israelite doctor who practicing this stuff too, that scripture go for you also.
Right.
Won't be exempt.
That's right. All right. So we're gonna go into another part dealing with childbirth, and that's gonna be breastfeeding. We're gonna get some facts, we're gonna get some things out of this as well. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 8. Genesis chapter 21, verse 8.
The book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 8. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned.
Salakia, can you start at verse 7?
All right, verse 7. And she said, who should have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age.
So
verse
Sarah gave birth to Isaac in her old age. Read.
Verse 8. And the children grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned.
So it said the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. He didn't have a great feast on his birthday. He made a great feast when Isaac was weaned. What does that word wean mean? Let's look it up. It said wean, to accustom a young child or animal to take food otherwise than by nursing. So that's going into the child was able to eat without being on the breast. That's what that's going into. You know, he was weaned off the breast. He was to the point where he didn't need the mom's nipple no more. You know, so when he got to that stage, Abraham, hey, he was happy about that. He ain't had to walk around and see that all day. He was happy about it. He made a great feast. But what we don't understand is that that is a mighty thing. We as a people are supposed to be doing that. Now society has beguiled us and have us to thinking that it's a better way of doing it rather than breastfeeding the children. When you look at every other species, like the scriptures tell you in Job chapter 12, verse 6, it say nature will teach you. All we got to do is look at nature and it will teach you. Every animal that gives birth, that's what we have. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Zeke?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
All right.
Can you hear me?
Understand why, Israel, but bear with us. Nonetheless, talking about wean, which means that the child is able to eat other food other than being on a breast. All right. So when you read through the scriptures, you'll see that word wean quite a bit. So that means what? That our in the ancient days we did breastfeed. We still do it today, but damn man, see, you there? All right.
Yeah.
All right. I want to show something right quick. with me, Israel. All right, this is a sister. She's gonna be breaking down the consequences of not breastfeeding your child.
I'm with Dr. Michael Young, and she is going to answer my question. Dr. Young, what are the consequences of not breastfeeding?
There are multiple consequences, most of them related to health and the health benefits that human milk confers. Babies who are not breastfed are at increased risk for ear infections, for pneumonia, for lower respiratory tract infections, for gastroenteritis or GI infections, diarrhea as we know it, for increased risk for acute lymphocytic leukemia, acute myelogenous leukemia.
Did she say leukemia? You at risk of your child catching leukemia or developing leukemia from not breastfeeding.
As well as in a long-term basis, type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Type 1 and type 2 diabetes. When you go against the natural order of things, as the Lord set it up for the woman to give suck from the breast, when you go against that, you put your child at risk of getting diabetes, leukemia. She said some other thing. I won't let her keep speaking.
Not forget, they're also at increased risk for sudden infant death. Some of the new research
sudden infant death.
That infants who are exclusively breastfed for any duration the time have a decreased risk for sudden infant death by 76%.
76%. These doctors, these hospitals, these pharmacies are not telling you these things, are not telling us these things. So we are actually putting more risk on our children by putting them on Similac, powdered milk, and these are things that the majority of us have no knowledge about. And most of us start off where we ain't got nothing. We just trying to make it. Hey, we're going to get what we can to try to make do. But we put our children at risk of catching all type of diseases, even being put to death. Because we are going against how the Most High set things up. We're going against nature. Just like as I was trying to speak about earlier before the internet started tripping. But when you look at nature, all the different animals that give birth, give suck to their young. They don't go get another source of food to give to that animal or to their young ones, to their offspring. They give suck from them. Just as we are supposed to give suck from us to our children, to the offspring, the women are. Anyway, but you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an amazing human product, this human milk that we have. It is the single intervention that confers.
You see that? These are the things that they will not teach you. They're gonna give you the option. When you read the scriptures, there ain't no option. This is what it is. Breastfeed your children. Give a natural birth. Circumcise your boy on the 8th day. Don't take shortcuts because you in your feelings or because you don't know what's going on. These classes are done with the intent to teach you so that you don't make foolish decisions, So take heed to these things. All right. Now, I'm going to give you a little history on some things that a lot of us may have and may not have known about concerning breastfeeding. All right. That's not what I want. Here it is. Yeah. This gonna trip you out as well. You're gonna put it on the screen. All right. We've all seen this before, maybe. Some of us haven't, but let's go through it.
Disturbing history of enslaved mothers who were forced to breastfeed white babies. By the 17th century, wet nursing by slaves had become very popular in Europe. The practice soon reached America through British settlers. Most of the white mothers were then using this nursing as a kind of excuses used to avoid breastfeeding their baby. This they did was to maintain their stature. The act of breastfeeding to them was a kind of or was thought to be as uncultured, poor, and they shun it for the wet nursing, slave mothers, who were perceived as people with dirty qualifications to do that. The practice became very popular when doctors of the time did all they could to prove that breastfeeding was an unhealthy act for women. It is believed that doctors were paid huge sums of money to write such reports. During the era of slavery, the children of slaves were seen by the Westerners growing very healthy while they were losing theirs to ill health. This then made Western women to force slave mothers to start breastfeeding their own babies for better growth and good health during the early months of childhood. By the 18th century, the trend had become very popular. What the Western woman started doing this time was that they started looking for women slaves who were breastfeeding their babies and bring them to their homes to help them breastfeed their own baby. The slaves who had babies were made to stop breastfeeding theirs and began to breastfeed their mistresses' babies instead. The moment they started breastfeeding the white babies, they were made to stop using that same breast milk for their own baby. As you can see in the picture below.
You see that? These are the things that we have to know about. We have to know about what's going on, man. They told our women to breastfeed their children to make them strong and stop feeding their own children. Wickedness. Why? Because it was in the power of them to do so because of our rebellion as a nation of people.
She is breastfeeding the white baby, and her own has been left unattended to. They later started forcing young and healthy slave women to breastfeed white babies after doctors found out that the continuous sucking of sexually active female breast could result in lactation. Slave mothers then designed another method to feed their own babies since they were prevented from breastfeeding their babies with their own milk. They tried to keep their own babies alive by feeding them with concoction they believed was good as substitute for milk. The slave mothers also used cow milk to feed their babies, and when they couldn't find milk, they fed them with dirty water, which resulted in high death rate of babies of.
You see that? Feeding them dirty water and cow milk because they weren't allowed to breastfeed their own children that they gave birth to. That's probably why women or our people so attached to cow milk.
Slaves during this period. It came a time when slave traders started kidnapping newborn babies from the slave mothers. Some of these mothers were naturally forced to breastfeed other babies who were not theirs, but the whites. This was because the pain in their breasts left them with no choice but to breastfeed these other babies who were not theirs to relieve them of breast pain. Those slave mothers who refused to breastfeed white babies were beaten and were sometimes milked like cows to feed white babies.
Did you hear that? If they refused to feed the white baby, they were beaten. And then they milked them like cows. You see that? So I don't understand why a lot of our sisters want to go deal with them knowing the history that happened. Why do we want to go back to the people that did these things to us? I don't understand it. But this is the history that they try to hide or don't speak about. These things happen. And if you're not careful, if we don't repent and return back to the Lord, they destined to happen again.
The Western mothers were then leaving their babies in the home of the slave mothers to breastfeed them until they were mature enough. Then they would take them back from them. It was later speculated that since the living conditions of the slave mothers were not healthy enough, this might affect or kill their babies, or the slave mothers might kill their babies. They decided to force them to move in with them where they could monitor them. The practice started to die down after slaves were slowly getting their freedom, except for some few African American women who continued wet nursing after slavery had been abolished. Wet nursing existed for many centuries.
It's called wet nursing. W-E-T nursing. Wet nursing. If you want to find out more on that, hey, do your diligent research.
However, in history, only slave mothers were forced into the act. When I first read this story about slave mothers who were forced to abandon their own babies just to breastfeed the white babies, I thought of so many things. I began to think, question question myself, that were they not the same whites?
See that? Same one that's talking about my body, my right, used to abuse you, force you to feed their children, to make their children healthy and strong, because they were not able to do so. Yet and still, we forget about what happened in the past time. We don't want to speak about the truth. Well, hey, that's what we here for. We're going to bring out the truth and shut down and break down the strongholds that plague our people and give them raw truth to set you free.
That's right.
All right. As you can see in the title right here, wet nursing. Go ahead, King.
On that. Go ahead. I am.
Okay. All right. So, as the brother was talking about earlier, one of the things that they do after having the C-section is that they try to say that it's a lot of scar tissue, or after the third child, they'll try to convince the woman to have her tubes tied. Now, in the long shot, what is that really? That's a form of population control and another way for them to make money, because each child that is born after that first C-section, that child has to, or that woman has to continue to have C-sections after the fact. So every child afterwards is going to come through a cesarean section or procedure, which would be an unnatural birth. So every time a child is born after the first one, it's going to be an unnatural birth, and the doctors or the hospitals is going to make more money behind it. So it's a way for them to make more money. And then after 3 to 4 children, mainly 3, they come to the woman and they say, hey, it's time for you to get your tubes tied. It's too much scarring tissue or some other issue. You might die or you might pass on behind it. This is why we must do our diligent research to understand what's going on, because to them it's just a big business, but to us, we think we building families, you know, but they actually putting us at risk and at risk of death behind it. And that's another form of sterilization. Like I was saying, population control. And that's what we're going to go into now. All right. So let's get, you know what? Before we get there, I'm going to go to Leviticus chapter 12. Leviticus chapter 12. We're going to start at verse 1 and read to 8. Because I want to explain this as well to our brothers and sisters so that they understand this process, this law that the Most High gave our people to maintain. So let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 12, starting at 1.
All right. Leviticus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of the separation for her infirmity, shall she be unclean.
All right. So it's going into the woman being unclean after giving birth to a son, to a man child. All right. Read.
Verse 3. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised.
In the 8th day his foreskin shall be circumcised. All right. Now, majority of the time when we go to the hospital and our wives give or our women give birth, the hospital normally say something like you got like 6 weeks before you can actually do anything. You know what I'm saying? If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Actually get down with the get down again after the pregnancy or after the birth. But on the 8th day, the foreskin, the child's supposed to be circumcised. That's the covenant that was made with the Most High through Abraham and our seed. Read.
Verse 4. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 3 and 30 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled.
All right. So it's telling us right there that she's going to continue in the blood of her purifying 3 and 30 days. That's 33 days. All right. Plus the 7 that she was already unclean for when giving the birth to the child. So that's 40 days. 40 days after giving birth to a son, she would be unclean. All right. Read verse 5.
Verse 5. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of purifying 60 days.
I hate when the internet be lagging like that. But the brother was going into in verse 5, if our sister, our wife, bear a female, that's what it's talking about, a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 60 days. So it's talking about 80 days when it comes down to a female being born. You see that? 40 days for a male and 80 for a female. For the woman to actually be purified and to be clean after giving birth. Verse 6.
Verse 6. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation unto the priest.
Read.
Verse 7. Who shall offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is the law for her that have born a male or a female.
You see that? This is the law for her that have gave birth to a son or a daughter. Read.
Verse 8. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be unclean. And she shall be clean.
You see that? So these are the things that we have to study, we have to understand, because this is part of our heritage as a nation of people. Now, do we make offerings anymore as far as animal sacrifice? No. Why? Because Christ was the ultimate animal, or not animal, but he was that sacrificial lamb, So we don't make any animal sacrifices anymore. But it still holds true that after a son is born, a woman is unclean for 40 days, meaning you can't lay with her. And after a daughter is born, she's unclean for 80 days. You can't lay with her until that cycle is complete. Men, keep that in mind. All right. So from now, we want to go back to what we were talking about the sterilization factor. All right. I'm going to put that on. Let this video play. Give you some more history. Some more shocking evidence that our people might not be aware of. All right. Where is there?
A whistleblower account of forced sterilizations in a Georgia ICE detention facility recently shocked the nation. But this horrendous crime is nothing new. The U.S. has a lengthy and well-documented history of medical and government authorities forcibly sterilizing Black, Latina, Indigenous, disabled, incarcerated, and poor women.
Israelite women.
Here are just a few examples. The most obvious was the movement for eugenics, a blatant effort to arrange reproduction so as to eliminate quote-unquote undesirable traits among the population.
Population control.
Which was openly based on racist theories. Eugenicists established research and foundations that popularized eugenics in the scientific community and society as a whole. The movement gained popularity in the 1920s, which, no coincidence, was a time of severe anti-immigrant restrictions and the great migration of Black people into urban areas. The practice of forced sterilizations was institutionalized by the Supreme Court itself. In the 1927 Buck versus Bell case, the Supreme Court allowed the state of Virginia to carry out compulsory sterilizations. The state sought to sterilize a young woman for having a child out of wedlock, with some records suggesting that she was raped. Justice Wendell Holmes wrote, quote, "It is better for all the world if instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or to let them starve for imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind."
You see that? They want to sterilize, prevent the women from being able to reproduce. They're doing it on a larger scale now, you know? And this is nothing new when you actually go back and read in the scriptures. All right. It's a reason behind everything that they do. All right, let's go to the book of Exodus right quick. Go to the book of Exodus chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 8. Exodus 1 and 8.
All right, the book of Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
You don't think that these other nations are saying that right now? The children of Israel are more and mightier than we. They're taking our jobs. You know, they reproducing on a higher level than we are. They are more and mightier than we. Read.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
You see therefore, that? It said, come on, let us deal with them wisely, because they are more and mightier than we. These other nations know these things, especially the so-called white men. They know these things. Everything that they do is written in the scriptures, and it's just a continuous cycle going on and on and on and on. So they said, let us deal wisely with them. Wisely. This is exactly what's going on today. Sterilization. Tying your tube. Men getting the, what they call that? The, I can't even think of the word right now. They get the snip. What they call that, Zeke?
The snip.
Yeah.
Talking about the circumcision?
No.
What'd you say?
And the man is snip is where he can't get a woman.
Dissecting.
Exactly. It's another wise way of getting men to stop reproducing. Same thing that they do with dogs. First thing they want to do is, get a dog neutered. Stop his reproduction. That's wicked. But I'm going to go back to this video and let it keep playing. As you can see on the screen, it says more than 30 states passed legislation in support of forced sterilizations.
More than 30 states passed legislation in support of forced sterilizations, according to the standards set in Buck v. Black women and immigrants. To this day, the ruling has yet to be overturned. And widespread and disturbingly effective that Hitler himself reportedly told a Nazi colleague that, quote, I have studied with interest the laws of several American states concerning prevention of reproduction by people whose progeny would be injurious to the racial eugenics spelling continue in place in the form of medical coercion and deception in situations where women is being sterilized or concedes to sterilization under duress. Overall, the practice was so common performed at teaching hospitals as training for medical students. Born and raised in Mississippi, the renowned civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer was one of the most well-known victims of these quote-unquote appendectomies in 1961 when she underwent surgery to remove a tumor from her uterus. And in the South, it wasn't just Mississippi. North Carolina sterilized over 7,600 people between the 1930s and 1970s, 65% of whom were Black women. A third of the sterilizations were done on girls under 18.
You see that? You can't make this up. A third of them were done on girls under 18. They in there operating on our sisters and they ain't even 18.
Even as young as 9 years old.
9 years old.
As early as 1909, forced sterilizations took place in California, and the state was the national leader in the number of sterilization procedures performed without consent. An estimated 20,000 sterilizations took place in state institutions, making up a third of the total number performed in the country. These sterilizations targeted women with Spanish surnames, many of Mexican descent. A 2015 documentary film, No Más Bebés,
See that? 20,000 women were sterilized in California early 1900s.
Follows a class action lawsuit representing hundreds of mostly Mexican women who say they were sterilized without informed consent shortly after giving birth in Los Angeles public hospitals. This crime against humanity was not confined within the U.S. mainland borders. In the colonized nation of Puerto Rico, population control remained a major effort of the U.S. government since it seized the island nation from Spain in 1898. In 1976, the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare reported that 1 in 3 Puerto Rican women of childbearing age had been sterilized by coercion or without their consent. The U.S. policy of forced sterilizations was so common in Puerto Rico that it was simply referred to as La Operación. American doctors trained staff at private and public hospitals across the island and instituted the practice of sterilizing mothers of 2 or more children after birth. Indigenous peoples across the U.S. have been subjected to this inhumane practice during much of the 20th century. A 2010 study found that as many as 25 to 50% of Native women were sterilized by
so-called Native American Indians.
The Indian Health Service between the years of 1970 and 1976 alone. In a harrowing example, 2 Cheyenne girls were admitted into an IHS hospital in Montana for emergency appendectomies. Doctors sterilized both girls while they were sedated, without their consent or that of their parents. The fight against sterilization abuse became a major front of struggle for the women's movement and women who were members or influenced by the radical organizations of the 1970s. As a result of their struggles and exposure, the Department of Health and Human Services published guidelines for sterilization procedures in 1974. It mandated a 72-hour waiting period between the signing of a consent form and the procedure, and created a moratorium on sterilization of women under 21 years old and others lacking the right to give consent. But unfortunately, that hasn't stopped the abusive sterilizations altogether. More and more, they are occurring for incarcerated women in particular. A recent study found that almost 150 women were illegally subjected to sterilization in California prisons between 2006 and 2010.
Those numbers are way down, but still, it's going on even today. These women being basically sterilized, shut down. I don't know what type of procedure they're doing. Tying their tubes somehow. I don't know exactly what the procedure is that they're doing, but it's constantly going on. It's been going on for hundreds of years, for decades. But these are the things that they will not talk about in school. You won't hear about it in college. You won't hear about it in the church. You won't hear about it on your job. This is why we got to do these classes, to bring out this truth, to let you know that you have an enemy, Israel. And the only reason that this enemy is able to do the things that they do is because of our rebellion. Because we don't want to keep the commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. We want to continue to break his commandments and say, I do what I want to do. And that's why we in the position or the predicament that we in right now. Rebellion. Rebellion. All right. So this is just a video right quick to show you what our people have been going through. You know, let me get the book of Baruch right quick, chapter 4. The book of Baruch, chapter 4, right quick. chapter 4, verse 14.
Or 14.
Yes, sir. We're gonna read that at 16.
The book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 14. Let them that dwell about Zion come, and remember ye the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting have brought upon them.
Meaning the captivity that the Most High put us in. Read.
For he hath brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation, and of a strange language, who neither reverenced old man nor pitied child.
The
Verse
Lord
16.
had brought a nation upon us from far. A shameless nation. They ain't got no shame. They'll do whatever for that money. Do whatever for some power. And a strange language, who never reverenced, meaning respected the old man, nor pitied the child or the young. Read.
Verse 16. These have carried away the dear beloved children of the widow, and left her that was alone, desolate, without daughters.
It said these, meaning these other nations, have carried away the dear beloved children of the widow, meaning of Jerusalem, and left her that was alone, desolate, without daughters. So they pulled us and took us away from our homeland. The Lord sent them against us. Why? Because of our rebellion.
Right.
You know, this is what we must understand as a nation of people. Why are these wicked and evil people doing these wicked and evil deeds? Because the Lord giving them the power to do so, because we don't want to repent and keep his commandments. We want to follow the lust of the flesh. We want to do what the hell we want to do. We don't want to do thus saith the Lord. We want to follow what every Tom, Dick, and Harry is doing. And we're going to stay on the bottom as long as our people stay rebellious. We have to make change, my brothers and sisters. Matter of fact, let's add on to that. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel right quick. Ezekiel chapter 23. Then I got one more video. And we'll be done. Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 28. And we're going to read that at 30.
All right. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 23, verse 28. For thus said the Lord God, behold, I will deliver thee into the land of them whom thou hatest, into the land of them from whom thy mind is alienated. And
It
they
said,
shall.
for thus saith the Lord, I will deliver thee into the hand of them whom thou hatest, into the hand of them from whom thy mind is alienated. So the Lord said, because of your rebellion, I'm going to deliver you into the hands of those individuals that you hate, that we hate, who our mind is alienated, meaning our mind is not like theirs. Read 29.
Verse 29. And they shall deal with thee hatefully, and shall take away all thy labor, and shall leave thee naked and bare. And the nakedness of the whoredoms shall be discovered by thy lewdness and thy whoredoms.
And they, meaning the people whom we hate, that the Lord gonna send us into their hand. He said, they shall deal with us hatefully to sterilize our women on the low secretly. That's hateful. 20,000 of our brothers and sisters sterilized in the early 1900s after giving birth. That's hateful. They don't want you to reproduce. Let us deal with them wisely. As Pharaoh said back in Exodus, let us deal with them wisely. They won't even know it happened. They'll be thinking there's something wrong with their husband. But they have been secretly sterilized. And it's still going on today. You know? And shall leave thee naked and bare, and the nakedness of thy whoredoms shall be discovered. Meaning our sins shall be discovered. both thy lewdness, our wickedness, and thy whoredoms, idolatry. Read verse 30.
Verse 30. I will do these things unto thee because thou hast gone a whoring after the heathen, and because thou art polluted with their idols.
You see that? We chasing after the ways of the heathen. We want to live like them. We want to speak like them. We want to do everything that they do, but we don't want to be us. We want to love them and disrespect our own. We are polluted with their idols, their way of thinking. We don't even know who we are. And we wonder why they don't respect us. This is why we must repent and return to who we are as a nation of people. We got to wake the hell up in these last days, Israel. All right? So I got one more video and then that'll be it. You got anything you want to add right quick, King?
I just want to reiterate what you said. The Most High is allowing them to do this because of our disobedience, like you said. So that's a small word that got big consequences when it comes to dealing with the Most High.
Babies.
Was that playing?
It started saying like, but it stopped.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I got two videos, but they short. They YouTube short. So let me play the first one. This is actually from a TV show showing you about what we were talking about earlier.
There are babies everywhere. Oh, ma'am, I am asking you why there ain't no black babies here. Where are all the Negro children?
Free you from the burden of childbirth is a surgical technique wherein the tubes inside a woman are severed to prevent the birth of a child.
He said I didn't have to. He said it's my choice.
The doctor ran your blood work. What the doctors are doing here in Griffin is unprecedented. What we are doing here is in the very best interest of the Negro people. It's science.
Sam, they poisoning the men.
And they're cutting the women's, making it so we can't have babies. That's why some of the girls is going crazy.
They're killing us.
Aren't they babies?
There are babies everywhere.
Oh, ma'am, I am asking you why there ain't no black babies here. Where are all the Negro children?
Free you from the burden of childbirth is a surgical technique wherein the tubes inside a woman are severed to prevent the birth of a child.
He said I didn't have to. He said it's my choice.
The doctor ran your blood work. What the doctors are doing here in Griffin is unprecedented. What we are doing here is in the very best interest of the Negro people. It's science.
Sam,
Science.
they poisoning the men.
And they're cutting the women's, making it so we can't have babies. That's why some of the girls is going crazy.
They're killing us.
They killing us. Why are they doing it though? Let's find out. Let's go listen to one of our brothers. Where is it?
In America. It's the same reason they're mad about immigration in Germany, immigration in Italy, immigration in England, immigration in Ireland, because white people worldwide are not having as many kids. The world is becoming more brown. That's what this is all about. A lot of these conservatives who oppose abortion, it's all about low white birth rates. If you look at what's happening around the world, white people are not having babies. And so one of the reasons you see people angry about immigration in America, it's the same reason they're mad about immigration in Germany, immigration in Italy, immigration in England, immigration in Ireland, because white people worldwide are not having as many kids. The world is becoming more brown.
More brown. You see that? A lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's why they pushing all these different movies with interracial couples, all these commercials, TV shows, cartoons, because they are trying to get us to go off, but to embrace them that want to have kids with them because they ain't able to reproduce like they used to. That's why they got to go to the doctor and get shots to be able to perform, to be able to give birth. So this is why we bring these classes out, brothers and sisters, to give you understanding as to what's going on. Before birth, need the nose, you know. Our people must be aware of what's going on. And if you're watching this class, please don't let it go in one ear and out the other. Don't let your phone or let your neighbor pull this information out of your mind and you just become a damn zombie again in the world. You know, I pray that you watched this and learned and took in the information that was brought out to you. You know, once again, this class was called Before Birth Need to Know. What you don't know will hurt you. Our people don't know what's going on, and we have been blasted. We have been molested, raped, taken advantage of on so many levels. It's unreal. So we as a people got to wake the hell up in these last days. We got to repent. We got to come back to serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. But at the end of the day, the Lord's will be done. We just got to play our parts. You know what I'm saying? Come back to repent. Repent. Come back to doing the first works, keeping these commandments, having the faith in Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and loving your brothers and sisters. But on that note, I'm Brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
And we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And we appreciate everybody who's tuning in, who will tune in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. And share this content. Share this with your children. Share this with your brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Indians. Share this content. Let them know what's going on so we can make better decisions, better informed decisions when going forward. And on that note, we pray and hope that you learned something. And we say shalom, shalom, peace and greetings to you all, and all praise to the Most High for allowing us to bring this class out. Lord willing, we see you next week. Also pray for your nation. Day assignment is approaching next week. And on that note, stay prayed up. Keep these commandments. Read on a day-to-day basis. Love your people. Love yourself. And on that, we out. Shalom.